because depending on muscle mass and many other factors, the weight could change dramatically and not be a good indicator. Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome to my favorite time. Hopefully, it's your favorite time where we get to talk about being a world-class CISO. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If you're a repeat listener, thank you. I'd love to hear from you. If there's topics you'd like to hear about or any feedback, please post it below, or you can always reach me at ecole@secure-anchor.com. And if you'd like help in getting to that next level, being a world-class CISO, we have many options, but what I recommend is our CISO certification, 6-month program. You get 40 hours of knowledge transfer, 6 months of group coaching with yours truly, and a private peer group where you can interact with other people just like you. And if you're getting started, also make sure you pick up your copy of Cyber Crisis, right? Because we are definitely in the midst of a cyber crisis. To be world-class CISO requires what I call 360 view of yourself. Many people go in, and if they want to be a world-class CISO, they go, okay, if I just know some technical knowledge, if I have some background in cybersecurity, I'm going to be able to be world-class. And unfortunately, that's not true. Because if your mindset is screwed up, if you have bad relationships, if you're angry and mad all the time, and if you're not healthy and you're in and out of the hospital all the time, there is no possible way you can be world-class. So what I'd like to do in this episode is, as we get ready for 2022, I know, can you believe another year has passed, right? We're in December when I'm recording this, and hopefully when you're listening to this, it should be about mid-December. So you got a couple of weeks before we head in to 2022. And I'll just be honest with you. To me, one of the stupidest things I have ever seen, and it's proven by the data, are New Year's resolutions. And here's why. We think, for some crazy reason, that a date on the calendar is going to magically fix us. That some date on the calendar is going to magically make all of your bad habits disappear and all of your good habits magically come in. Well, let me help you out here. If you haven't been able to do it for the last 6, 7, 8, 9 months, or in some cases, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, why do you think magically, because the calendar says January 1, that all of a sudden you're going to be able to do something you've never done before? And the answer is you can't if you don't start changing and modifying your behavioral patterns. So to me, what I like to do is you don't wait until January 1 to decide I'm going to eat healthy. What you do is like a race car. You go into the pit and you get your tires changed, the engine tuned, you get that car perfectly in December. And then when a race car comes out of the pit, it has a lane where it gets up to maximum speed. So when it gets back on the racetrack, hopefully in front of the pace car, right, it's at maximum velocity so it can continue the race. It can continue where it was. It doesn't go out on the racetrack at 0 miles per hour and try to get up to speed, right? It is coming out of the pit at maximum velocity. And that's always been my philosophy and what I believe world-class CISOs need to do. So in December, and even though, depending on when you listen to this, maybe only a couple of weeks, but this is when you do the foundational work. This is when you have to go in and start building up that core foundation, where you have to start going in and seeing, where am I out? Where do I want to be? How do I want to move forward to that next level? So this way, when January 1 hits, boom, you're at maximum velocity. You're already at race speed with the foundational items, a clear vision, a clear focus of what needs to be done. So you can go in and own 2022. So what I'd like to do here is sort of let's go through a little self-assessment. As you start going in and getting ready for 2022, let's just see, where are you? Where do you want to be? And then what is the next step you need to take to get there? Worry about the next step only. One of my favorite, I love movie clips, and people always laugh because it's some of the weirdest movies that you find the best focus, mindset, and life advice. And the one I want to give you here is from Indiana Jones. And I think it was the second one with Sean Connery as his dad. And his dad is dying. It's near the end. And Indiana Jones has to cross over this long ravine. And the camera angle, when you look at it, it looks like it's this huge gap. And there is no way you could possibly jump it. It's too far. And Indiana Jones is like, how do I get across? And then there's this moment where his dad like whispers to him, it's surreal, and it's like, trust and have faith, right? Believe and trust and have faith. Even if you can't see the path, believe that the path is there and take the first step, right? And the music, right? Dramatic. And you see Indiana Jones lift up his foot and he's about to step down. And we all like gasp because is he going to fall into the ravine? And when he steps, his foot hits a path and then the camera switches a different angle. And sure enough, there's a path. You just couldn't see it from the current angle, right? It blended, it camouflaged in, but the path was there all along. Indiana Jones just wasn't able to see it. And I love that because that's very often the path to being a world-class CISO. You sit there and say, I want to work and be a CISO for a Fortune 10 organization. I want to be the chief information security officer for Google or Amazon or Apple or Microsoft or one of the really big tech companies out there. And that's great. But you currently are an engineer. You haven't done any strategic work, and you're just sitting there going, that's what I want. But Eric, I don't know what to do. I'm afraid I'm this. Take the first step. Just want to take a quick break. I hope you're enjoying the show. I have this free webinar that I would love for you to check out if you want to become a world-class CISO. What's the first thing you could do? Do you understand financials? No? Read a business book. Take that first step, right? So this is not about figuring out the entire path, because I'll tell you right now, putting in time, energy, and effort is going to frustrate you because you won't be able to. If you are currently an world-class engineer with no business or CISO experience, you've never ever had the title, and you want to be the CISO of a Fortune 10 company, you don't know the path. And any path you think you have is going to be wrong because you don't know. You've never been it. So how do you know how to get there? But you definitely know which direction to go in, right? The analogy is if you're in Virginia and you want to go to California, and pretend we don't have all of our Google Maps and Apple Maps and all that now, right? But pretend it was when I grew up, right? Where you didn't have any of that. What you do is say, okay, if I'm in Virginia and I want to go to California, I start driving west, right? I start going west. And then at some point, when I get close enough, I can then figure out exactly where I want to go, but start heading in that direction. get in the car, fuel it up, and start heading in that direction. And that's what this is all about. When you're planning for next year, don't overthink it, because so many people get into paralysis by analysis, where they go in and they try to overanalyze everything and they're stuck. And that's a lot of the coaching. When I go in and have potential future world-class CISOs that aren't there yet, they're overanalyzing it way too much. And I'm like, okay, what's the first thing you can do? Let's start moving in that direction. So let's just go through and look at some of the core things. What is the most foundational thing to be a world-class CISO? If you want to be a world-class CISO, world-renowned CISO, that everybody wants to speak at their events, everybody wants you to work at their company, and everybody wants your advice. What is the most foundational thing? And it's a trick question, because most of you are probably not thinking outside the box. The most foundational, important thing for being a world-class CISO: your health, your body. Because let me ask you this. If you are in the hospital, are you really going to be able to be world-class? If you're sick 10 days a quarter and you're not in the office or you can't travel, or you miss keynote events because you're sick or not well, or the extreme example, if you're 6 feet underground because you didn't take care of your body, is there any possible way you're going to be world-class? No. So the most important foundational things that everybody misses is your health and your body. Because if you're not healthy, if you can't push it for 10 or 12 hours, and sometimes I don't like to do it anymore, but to be world-class, sometimes you have to take a red eye from the West Coast to the East Coast. Sometimes you have to sleep on an airplane. Sometimes, and I don't like it, but it happens, where sometimes you might have to go on 5-hour sleep. Now, if you're healthy and you've been getting 7 to 8 hours sleep and you're in optimal shape, then you can push it. Not all the time, but if there's a situation where you need to go on a little less sleep for one day, you're able to do it. The problem is most people's health isn't even close to where it needs to be. So when they have to go in and push it or optimize it, that's when they get sick, or that's when they get ill. Or a lot of people come home from work at 5:36, have some dinner, sit on the couch, and either play video games or watch TV for 3 or 4 hours. Let me help you out here. That's not going to get you world class. World class in the evening are evaluating the day, looking at what they need to do, reading, spending time with friends or family, real time. Sitting next to somebody watching 3 hours of TV is not going to build a relationship, right? And talking with them and walking with them and those types of things. So you need to be able to be in optimal shape. So right now, self-evaluation in being a world-class CISO. Where are you in your health? And there's really two components to that: exercise and diet. How healthy do you eat? What do you put in your body? Once again, not here to judge in any way, shape, or form, but I am here to help you and coach you on being world class. If you drink alcoholic beverages every single evening, or even multiple times a week, you're not going to be world class. Now, if you enjoy that, if that's your thing, then okay, I'm just being honest with you. Alcohol has an adverse effect on your body. It has an adverse effect on your mind, and it has an adverse effect on your sleep. 3 very important components. Also, alcohol has an adverse effect on muscle growth. So if you're trying to exercise and be healthy, right, you're basically driving with really, really bad fuel in the tank. It's not going to get you to that optimal level. Now, once again, it's a decision that you need to make, but I'm just throwing it out there. So ideally, what you're looking for are about 100 ounces of water. Now, once again, you need to consult a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just sort of giving you some tips and tricks that work for me, but ultimately consult with experts. I'm just giving you some things to think about. Hydration is super important. Water. Caffeine, same thing as alcohol. It dehydrates you. It's not good for your body. If you need a little bit in the morning, great. But drinking, I had a friend of mine go, I drink 80 ounces a day. I'm like, of water? He's like, no, of Diet Coke. Right? Not going to get the job done, man. This is not going to get there. So for me, what I found works about 100 ounces of water throughout the day. Now, yes, if you're doing keynotes or other things, you got to time it, because if you're hitting the restroom every 20 minutes, that might not work, right? So you got to logistically figure it out. But about 100 ounces of water. So where are you in terms of hydration and water intake? Very important. Then I typically do about 3 to 4 meals, about 2,000 calories, where each meal I'm focusing on about 40 grams of protein, 5 to 10 grams of fat, 5 to 10 grams of carbs. Once again, figure out what works for you. But protein is really important, healthy. Typically what I like to do, and it's hard when you travel, but what I always like to do is 1 ingredient food. Steak or chicken, that's 1 ingredient, right? A McDonald's Big Mac is not 1 ingredient. Right? Processed food is not 1 ingredient. Broccoli is 1 ingredient. All right? So a piece of chicken grilled, or I actually enjoy steamed or poached or broiled. Boiled. It just gives a little different texture, flavor there. But a piece of chicken with a couple of pieces of broccoli. Right? Each one of those 1 ingredient. And you'd be surprised now, even if you have to eat out, most restaurants and most cooks are actually pretty good on doing somewhat healthy. You can ask them, hey, the best bet if you want to eat healthy when you go out is just say you have allergies. Because restaurants are terrified of allergies. So if you just go in and say, hey, I don't want anything else added, I don't want extra butter or anything else, I just want grilled chicken and broccoli, and that's all you say, they're probably going to put a lot of butter and seasoning and MSG and some other stuff in there. But if you say, listen, I just want grilled chicken and steamed broccoli, nothing added to it because I have allergies, just say you have very strict allergies, then all of a sudden you'll get really good, healthy food. Once again, just think about it. Then exercise. I prefer to exercise in the morning. I find that gets the blood flowing, the energy flowing, clarity, and that gets me ready for the day. So I prefer, and I've tried it multiple ways, but I find a morning exercise tends to work the best. So that's on the body thing, healthy eating, what you put in, and some exercise. And once again, figure out what works for you. Try some different things, consult some experts if you want, try some different methods, see how you feel. I typically now have a routine pretty dialed in, but I would try things for 10 days, and then I try something else, and I try something else, and I just journal on how I feel at 3 o'clock, and how I feel at 5 o'clock, and how I feel at 7 o'clock, and how I'm sleeping, and you just sort of track it, and you're going to ultimately find a routine that works. I'm also very big on, I don't like the scale, because that's not an accurate depiction. Because depending on muscle mass and many other factors, the weight could change dramatically and not be a good indicator. So if you want to do the scale as a metric because it's measurable, that's great. But here's the ultimate moment of truth. Every morning when you get up or get out of the shower or you change, before you put on those clothes, look in the mirror. Stand front, go side, side, and just look in the mirror. And trust me, that's the best indicator, right, of how well you're doing with eating, exercise, and others, because it will visibly show when you start taking care of your health. Pictures don't lie, people do, right? So I go in, and in the morning with my pajama bottoms on, I'll just go in and take pictures of the front, the side, the back, and then I just do it as a comparison, because then you can see how are you progressing and how things are going. But once again, it's something many people don't like talking about, but if you're not in good shape, if you have poor eating habits, if your body is not doing great, you're not going to be able to be world class. And then last thing, and I know it's a little extreme, right? A little extreme here, but I go in and I also do quarterly blood work. Now, I recommend at least yearly physical and yearly blood work, but your blood work is your best indicator. That is the earliest indicator. If you start having any diseases or any issues or any problems, one of the first things that will be changed is your blood work. You'll see elevated in the red or white blood cells. You'll see elevated in certain functions of liver and other areas. That'll be one of your first indicators. Normally, the blood work will show changes before you have physical symptoms. So yes, you can wait for physical symptoms, but at that point, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it's too late. It's too late. If you talk to any really good medical doctor, they will tell you the best way to stay healthy is preventive medicine with early detection. Wow, that sounds like cybersecurity, right? It's funny the correlation between those there, but absolutely you want to prevent what you can with healthy eating and exercise, and then you want to periodically get some blood work so you can do early detection if there are issues or problems. Once again, highly recommend you talk to a professional or your doctor. But like I said, foundational item is that body. So that's first. Second important thing is your mindset. If you want to know what you think about and what you focus on, look at your current life. Look at your current life, because what you think about becomes things. Thoughts become things, and thoughts are very, very powerful. So that's another big area when I coach people that want to become world-class CISOs, is I need to change their mindset right away. One of the things when I first coach people I hear right away, and I always just shake my head, is, Eric, I'm not CISO material. And then I have to say, okay, is that really true? Because if that is really the truth, that you are not CISO material, then we should part ways, and I shouldn't continue to coach you. Because if you are truly not CISO material, then no matter what I do, it's not going to change anything because you're not CISO material. All right, so you see the catch there. So if that is really a true statement, if you honestly believe that without a shadow of doubt and you are unwilling to change, then you should stay as a world-class engineer, because you will never be a CISO because you just convinced yourself. Now, I don't believe that's true. So what I typically do with folks, I'm like, okay, is that really true? Why do you say that? And then I start getting information why you say that. And then I say, okay, let's go in and just pretend that you are CISO material. What are some of the qualities that would be needed to be CISO material? And they start naming them. And I say, okay, can we find any evidence of that? For example, I was just coaching somebody this week and they said, well, if I was CISO material, I would need strong leadership. I said, great. Have there been any areas in your life where you actually led a team or led a project? And they start naming them. I'm like, wow, sounds like pretty good supporting evidence to me. Sounds like you are a leader and you have leadership experience. And they go, Yeah, but I've never had the title. Who cares? A title is just a title. And I'm like, so do you believe that someone with CISO material needs to have leadership skills? And they say yes. And based on everything we did, because we can keep going, do you believe you have leadership skills? Yes. Okay. So in that one area, can we change that you are CISO material? And you can see, I push them until the light goes on. I'm like, no. Yes. So now you can see that. So great. Then we move on. So your thoughts are very, very powerful. If you're focused on how terrible the world is and how everybody is out to get you, then guess what? That's what you're going to find. And that's what you're going to look for evidence of. If you think that executives are evil and are criminals, I was dealing with another person that wanted to be a world-class CISO. And I said, okay, you need to be an executive. And they made a face. I'm like, what's the matter? They're like, oh, all executives are evil. All executives screw people. And I'm like, where did that? And once again, we have to, same thing. Is it true? No. What is the truth? And let's find evidence in your life to be able to support those statements. So next thing to assess going into 2022 is, where are you at with your mindset? How do you view the world? How do you look at things? How do you view other people? And where do those false beliefs need to change? Or what I like to call them is, where do your beliefs limit you, limiting beliefs, and where do you need to change those to empowering truths? Because that's going to be the other area. Body is one thing. If you're in the hospital and you're sick 90% of the time, you can't be world class. If you're focused on how evil and bad everybody is and that you're not CISO material, you're never going to be able to be world class, because your mind is a goal-achieving machine. So if you tell it that people are evil and people are going to screw you over and executives are bad, bad people, your mind wants to be right. So it's going to go in and find support of all those statements. Because if you look at any given day or week in your life, will there be potentially isolated events that you can take and blow out of proportion to support any one of those limiting beliefs? Absolutely. You're going to work in the morning and somebody cuts you off. Or you're waiting in line for Starbucks and the person in front of you orders 300 coffees. Right? You could easily interpret that as people are selfish and people want to screw you over. Or if you view the world differently and you have empowering truths, you could do that as, oh, that person's just in a rush and I'm glad I gave them the opportunity to be able to get to work on time. Right? It's all how you view the world. So you have to change the thoughts to align. Now, there's many ways of doing it, but the easiest method that I like to do is really go in and focus on, what is the mindset of a CISO? World-class CISO. A world-class CISO, what is going to be their belief system? Their belief system is that you need a team to do something and people are amazing. Executives are brilliant and know how to run a company. So one way to do it is then adapt those belief systems, right, and use those to guide your knowledge and expertise. But bottom line is, if you have limiting beliefs, and some of them, what makes it so dangerous is they're subconscious, so you're on autopilot and don't even realize it. So you need to raise that awareness level to be able to become world-class. Now, I like to keep my life of a CISO, or being a world-class CISO, to about 25, 30 minutes. So what I'll do here is, this will be part one. So finishing up 2021, heading into 2022, 360 assessment. We talked about body, exercise, diet, and we talked about mindset. And then in our next episode next week, I'll go in to the other core areas of relationships and business and personal. So make sure you join me next week. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Life of a CISO. And what I want you to focus on this week is mindset, identifying awareness of those limiting beliefs, change them to empowering truths, and then focus on exercise, diet, and taking your health to the next level. Because in order to be world class, you have to have world class optimal health.